What's going on, everybody? D Style Boxing here. We are back after a hiatus. I want to apologize to everybody. Got a little sick. Things happen. You know what I mean? But now I'm back. I'm healthy. Right on time for Christmas. You know what I mean? I'm being joined by my partner in crime, Joe Habib from Ringside Reporter. You can catch the roundtable next week on his channel. We alternate every single week. And of course, we're being joined by the big dog, Lukey from Lukey Boxing. How's it at Lukey Boxing on Twitter? Make sure you guys follow him. How's it going, brother? How you doing?
I got a little Jordan flu game in me. Not feeling the greatest, but I could never turn down an invitation to you guys.
Yeah, well, there you go. You know what I mean? I just recovered. He has the flu thing going on. Beeb is just being a Grinch. He's just Mr. Scrooge. Where is the Christmas spirit? I'm wearing the colors. You know, Lukey's got the Christmas spirit thing going on. What's going on, Beeb? I just got that little ornament in the corner there. You know what I mean?
I'm representing B-Town, baby, the Celtics.
Are they even good this year?
They're not that good this year, no.
I mean, why are you representing a team that isn't even that good?
Because I'm loyal.
What's going on over here? Loyal to a fault. You know what I mean?
I'm loyal to the soil.
Oh, to the soil. Shout out to Boxing, Writing Yogi, I'm sorry, El Chido Boxing, Sonteo Media, JC. Will be joined by Christine in a little bit. All right. Let's go ahead and get this one started. Modern King Boxing, how's it going? Everybody saying, shout out to everybody, man. Happy holidays for sure. This is going to be a nice little Christmas carol. Let's go ahead and start with the Grinch this year, 2022. And I want to know what the chat thinks. Let me know who it was, the Grinch that stole boxing. Luke, let's start with you. Who's the Grinch?
This is the easy one, Connor Ben. We had a great fight on deck. Very excited. And he decided to test positive for a PED. And like the true Grinch he is, he never even took accountability or anything. So Connor Ben for me.
Connor Ben is a Grinch. Jesus. Jesus, it is his birthday after all. Hey, Joe Habib, talk to us. What's the Grinch that stole boxing? Is it Joe Habib?
I'm going to say the PBC, man.
Talk to us. Why?
Very, very controversial statement by me saying that. And it's kind of weird coming from me to have to say that, because when they first came into existence, I remember being on the Boxing Voice, and Ness and myself were the biggest PBC defenders. We were the biggest PBC cheerleaders. Oh, look what they're doing. They're bringing free boxing. They have all these fighters, and they're showcasing all these fighters on all these networks. But lo and behold, little did I know that they would be the greatest deterrent and obstructionists to making the big fights. And I think that's happened a lot this year, with these PBC fighters. The common denominator, as Steve Kim likes to say, it's been PBC.
Damn. I was kind of there. For the most part, the Grinch that stole boxing this year. I'm not going to say, and I guess it is tied to PBC, but this force of nature that has prevented us from getting this Spence Crawford fight. It's a big fight. We didn't get it this year when it seems it was so close, yet so far away, right? But to me, the Grinch, because we didn't get it, but because they were giving us false reporting, I'm sorry, I got to give it to Dan Rafael. Okay, with all due respect. You know why? Because he told everybody the deal was all but done, but it wasn't. After all these years of criticizing Coppinger, he comes out and he pulls a Coppinger himself. Okay, and then he starts criticizing the ring, saying that they should have shut their mouths and not asked any questions to Tyson Fury, and maybe he would have still had the ring belt. So I don't think telling reporters that they should shut their mouths and not ask questions is a smart thing to do. So I'm going to give it to Dan Rafael. The Grinch is still boxing this year, just as a default. All right, so there you go. Now, who's a Santa? Who gave to boxing? Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. Joe? Habib?
I
Who's the
think
Santa Claus?
I think the fighters that engaged in undisputed fights this year, that stepped up to the plate, um, and didn't make any type of, excuses why they couldn't fight each other. I thought this year we had a good amount of undisputed fights, and I was happy for that. So I'm gonna say the fighters who engaged in undisputed fights, I thought they gave back to the sport and let us know that, it is important to have the one face, the one name, the one champion. So shout out to fighters like Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano and um, Devin Haney, George Kamposis, um, Inoue. Um, there's a lot of good undisputed fights this year.
They're giving us the reindeers and everything. The
Clarissa
Santa, the reindeer.
Shields, Savannah Marshall. So like a lot of fighters stepped up to the plate and they made undisputed fights. So shout out to them.
All right, all right. Lukey, and to the chat, by the way, let us know who's the Santa of this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think first and foremost, be sure to smash that like button because we're giving you a holiday show. So smash the like button, hit the subscribe before we get into this. But I think women's boxing definitely stole the show this year. The story of boxing in 2022, like you said, were the fights that didn't get made, and women's boxing stepped up to the plate and basically gave us all the fights we could have ever asked for. So I think women's boxing, and also Dmitry Bivol, he took two really good fights and honestly isn't really getting as much credit as he should for taking two very, very tough fights and winning dominantly.
Okay. For so many years, Bob Arum has been called the Scrooge. I gave him that last year, but this year, like the Godfather and Top Rank really stepped up. Like ESPN put on some great fights that were for free. We didn't have to pay for them, right? Like we had to fork out money with some of the other entities, right? ESPN Plus is not as expensive, obviously, but look at all the great events and matchups that we got through Top Rank. They were able to secure a deal with Devin Haney, where he became undisputed. Fought Combozes. They were able to, bring back, Teofimo in the meantime. They were able to bring a lot of fights to us. So to me, the Godfather and Top Rank is a Santa Claus this year, right? And B mentioned like the women fights, and look at what they were able to do with Michaela Mayer. And along, working alongside, Boxer to make the fight with Alicia Baumgartner and give us that big event, give us that big event, and a co-main, by the way, right? Over there in the UK, I think that was a big deal. Top Rank, and the Godfather especially put on that Santa suit on him, right? I'm just saying, okay? So that is that. I want to go ahead and talk the gift of the year. Now, there's many ways we go about this. It could be a gift that they gave us, the fans. It could be a gift that the judges gave a fighter. It could be whatever, but go ahead and give us, what is the gift of the year? Start with you, Luki.
I mean, everyone wants negativity, right? So let's just jump into Catterall, Josh Taylor. I mean, I do think Catterall probably should have ended the fight stronger to have taken away any doubt. But basically, Taylor hasn't fought very much lately. And then this division's on ice because Taylor's the lineal champion. He's the number one guy. Yet most of us look as though Catterall beat him. And then we've had to wait over one full calendar year. He'll probably be back in March to rematch Catterall. I'd say that's the biggest gift of the year because basically that one decision has held up the 140-pound division.
Okay. Joe, gift of the year, 2022.
Well, I want to go back to the women's boxing thing, and I think Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano gave us a huge gift, and not only gave us a huge gift, but they gave the sport of boxing a huge gift, and I think they really helped put women on the map this year because after that fight, that's when we started seeing like all these other big fights, and the women kind of lit a fire under all the women. And so that one fight, I think, helped the sport and helped women's boxing as a whole. And I thought I could argue, and that may even be my fight of the year, to be honest with you. I thought that fight was great. It had a lot of ebb and flow to it. It had a lot of drama. It was the first time probably in the history of me watching a fight that I was tempted to give a fighter a 10-8 round without a knockdown being scored. You know, and that was that round where Serrano had Katie Taylor really hurt. So there was a lot of drama in that fight. So I think that fight was the gift of the year to me, but not only just for the fans, but for, like I said, the sport of boxing and women's boxing too.
That was a very nice gift. To me, the gift of the year, all right, was two legends, maybe past their prime, but still really good fighters, and Gallo Estrada and Chocolatito going in there, and it wasn't their best fight, and it was, I wouldn't call it the fight of the year this year, but it was still a good fight. And we saw what looked like an aging Chocolatito for the first few rounds, you know, pick it up in the second half. It was a tale of two fights, but they gave us a trilogy to remember. I think that they completed the best trilogy of the year. I think it's safe to say it was better than the Chisora Fury, and I think it's, in my opinion, was better than the Canelo Golovkin fight. You know, I think they gave us something special, and I think we're going to look back and you know, it wasn't their best of the three fights, but it was still a really good fight, and it could be the end of an era, probably, but I think it was something special, and the fight I won't forget. And of course, I mean, Gallo, the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, he did win the trilogy. I just want to put that out there, everybody. Okay, that Gallo Estrada won the trilogy. 2-0, right? It is what it is. They try to stuff the rooster, but he ain't gonna die, right? So that was, to me, that was my gift of the year. Honorable mention, I do agree with Luki. As far as fighters getting a gift, most definitely Josh Hitter got a gift, right? There's no doubt about that. And it did throw this whole division out of whack. And one more gift. I mean, Jose Ramirez, you decided to get married, and he gave the gift of fighting for the championship to Regis Prograis. Regis Prograis seized the opportunity. Regis Prograis stops Cepeda, and now Regis Prograis is in the driver's seat with a lion's share, and then I guess, you know, maybe Jose Ramirez will be in the running for Grinch of the Year next year because he doesn't want to take that fight. So it is what it is. You know what I mean? All right, guys, the Rudolph Award. Who in boxing gave us some light in times when things were dark? In times of darkness, who gave the sport light? What individual will win the Rudolph Award? Let's start with you, Luki.
Well, I've got two people, and they're for two different reasons. So I think Devin Haney is a big standout to me because he went over to Australia and basically allowed George Kambosos to make every demand as a world champion in order to win 4 of the world titles and become undisputed. Until Haney had done that, we had been hearing about how people can't make big fights. Haney made it very simple to make a big fight, which I think as a fight fan, that's very encouraging, because I think that as fight fans over the past decade, we've learned to not expect big fights to happen, that they'll happen when the fighters are irrelevant or old, like Amir Khan, Kell Brook. So I think seeing a young fighter like Devin Haney, who made it happen in his prime, made the fight happen, wins, goes back, wins a rematch, and now is one of these more exciting American champions who has a chance to be a capital G guy in the sport. And I think on another side, seeing a guy like Hector Luis Garcia take a fight on a few weeks' notice or so and become a guy in the sport, take the spot of Chris Colbert, and now he's fighting on pay-per-view in a few weeks, maybe 2 weeks or so. I think those, for different reasons, are the shining lights in boxing for me from this year.
Okay. Joe Beeb. Who is Joe Beeb going to give the Rudolph Award this year to?
Best heavyweight of all time, Tyson Fury, because he's agreed to fight Alexander Usyk in an undisputed fight, and it looks like that fight's going to be set March 4th. And this is going to be the first time in 19 years that the heavyweight division will have an undisputed champion. So I think that's a great way, a great way to end the year. It's a very bright spot in a year where so many fights fell through, and when we didn't get a lot of fights, we didn't we didn't get a lot of fights that we wanted. We just let down. So he's given us hope for the start of the new year moving forward. That's a mega fight to start off the year.
You want to read that super chat?
Beeb's gift this year is Jerry.
Any comment?
I love Jerry. Jerry is good for comic relief, so you got to give him credit. He is a good gift.
Okay. The Rudolph Award, I mean, is a tough one for me, to be honest. I have to think about it a little bit. But I got to give it to Katie Taylor. Right? Through the darkness, she led to the light. She became the first, at least in a consistent basis, female boxer to be getting over $1 million. Brought that to the table for women's boxing, sold out Madison Square Garden. I think it's a big deal. And she has it cemented in her place in boxing history because of it. So I think that's a big deal. And Katie Taylor with that nose so bright. Won't you write this late tonight? I'm just saying, she led us through the darkness. But I will say, though, why doesn't Usyk get the award for you? Because Usyk's the one. I mean, that he's part of it too, and he's the one that called out Tyson Fury after he beat Anthony Joshua for all the belts, and he said, "Yo, let's do this. I'm in my field." So what? Why doesn't he get the Rudolph Award?
Tyson Fury is the best heavyweight of all time. I mean, he's going to get more credit. You know what I mean?
It's just like that, huh?
Tyson Fury's the best.
All right. Fair enough.
He's the main man in the division.
Now I want you guys to think a little bit. What is a ugly sweater award? Like the worst fight of the year, like a bad fight that you could think of. Lukey?
Two come to mind: Canelo versus Golovkin, when it was two rich old guys sparring for a lot of money, and you could tell that they were fighting for a lot of money, and neither really seemed to care about the outcome. Golovkin seemed like he was checking his 401k and his Vanguard money market account more so than being in the fight. Honorable mention goes to Abner Maris's fight against a random person. He was a good fighter. I mean that is no disrespect, but it was a guy that 5 or 6 years ago probably wouldn't have been competitive with Abner Maris, and Maris went to a draw, life or death. And it was one of those things where it's like Maris probably shouldn't be fighting.
All right. Joe Beeb, talk to us.
Wow. Ugly sweater. I'm going to say Deontay Wilder versus Robert Helenius. I just thought that fight looked fishy to me. Didn't look right. So I'm going to have to say that was an ugly fight.
Are you leaning it's still like a bad look, or are you leaning it was legit?
Wasn't legit.
Like how like give me a percentage. Like how sure are you?
About 99.9.
You can't be 99.9%. It's impossible. I mean,
I'm an outlier. I defy the odds.
How many fights does Wilder have that are weird? Because like people say that like in the Malik Scott fight, Malik winked at him. Now there's this one.
That was a dive.
I mean, it's a little strange.
Yeah, I'm not afraid to say it. I don't do this full time, so I can't get canceled.
I mean, I just feel like that one, the Helenius one, I didn't see it in real time, but the more people talk about it, the more I just want to like have someone from the camp talk about what happened.
Let me ask you this, Lukey, and I'm not trying to sway
Yeah.
you or manipulate you in any way, but you've heard me talk about it and give my opinion on it. Did it make you think a little bit?
Well, when I saw it, I was like, okay, Wilder hits really hard. And like I half watched it and I didn't really care. Then when you said it, I went back out of respect for you. And like when you look at it, you're like, okay, I slowed it. So I got real nerdy, right? I put on my glasses. I mean, like I looked like I was breaking down the Zapruder film. Like I came over. What were the guys in the X-Files that hung out with Mulder? The nerdy guys that were like the
I don't
losers.
remember.
And they like if someone out there probably remembers it, but I was like in that world where I'm like,
I'm hearing the X-Files music though.
yeah, see, like I'm caught that what is that thing that people always say they manifest it?
And plus, Lukey, you've known me for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy that just comes out and says stupid, crazy shit like that. You know what I mean?
No, I mean it's one of two things, right, Beeb? Wilder either hits freakishly hard to the point where like just he hits disproportionately hard, and I think he might just be hitting that hard, or this needs a serious explanation because it looked like a grazing blow.
Shout out to Nando Yama. Saludos. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Look at that beautiful tree. My goodness.
Shout out to Nando
boxing
Yamas.
tree.
What's
That's
going
beautiful
on? What's going
tree.
on, Christine?
Sorry that I'm tardy for the party. It is like 13 degrees outside, so I'm walking like a little slower to my car these days.
Baby, it's cold
Insane.
outside.
Oh my gosh. It's crazy.
Well,
But
there you go.
everything's good. How are you guys?
We're doing good. We're doing good. I mean, everyone has some type of Christmas spirit thing except B right now. Like, you know, I don't know what's going on right now, but he's got that ornament in the corner, though. It's all good. Christine, we're talking about the Ugly Sweater Award, which, in other words, like a bad fight or a bad performance or something along those lines for you this year.
Can I just like totally keep it boxing, but not even talking about boxers themselves?
Sure.
So I think the Ugly Sweater Award goes to whoever was responsible for not allowing Bud Crawford and Errol Spence to fight. A lot of people say it was Heyman. Some people say it was Bud. Some people say that it was Errol Spence. Whoever it was, they get the ugly sweater. Because to me, that was the most disappointing non-fight that didn't happen this year.
Okay. All right. Now, I just want to do a quick rundown with you. We've kind of, well, first of all, to stay on the ugly sweater for a little bit, because Beeb has nominated the Wilder Hellenius fight as the Ugly Sweater Award. Now you on this show, on the Roundtable, actually said, well, you know, he's going to do what he's got to do. And then, you know, but you kind of insinuated it. Are you with Beeb here? Like you believe like something happened? Like he hooked up his boy?
You know, the thing is I
say no.
You know,
You're supposed to say no. Of course not.
I gotta be with Beeb on this. I think they'd get a cat sweater, one that doesn't fit and it's really ugly. I didn't even bother with that fight. You know, I saw little highlights here and there, but you know, we talked about it. His sparring partner, they know each other, you know, and he had to do this, you know, to get back in. I'm with Beeb. Yeah, for sure.
Al Money, thank you for that super sticker, brother. Much appreciated. And let us know, guys. You know, let us know what do you think. Christine, I'm gonna do a quick rundown with you.
Okay.
The Grinch of the year.
Golly. You know what? Well, let me take back my ugly sweater and put that as the Grinch. Freaking whoever's responsible for not making the biggest fight of the century, in my opinion. So I'm gonna take my ugly sweater back, and I'm gonna give it to
PBC?
I'm gonna say Al Heyman. Oh, I'm gonna get killed for this, but yeah.
So Al Heyman and PBC get the Grinch
Yeah, they do. They do. And not to mention, I mean, how often do their guys fight? I mean, they had a card just the other night, and that's great. And it was, acceptable. But
Okay.
how often are his guys doing anything?
Fake fight. Oh my god. All right. So the Santa. Who's Santa Claus? Who gave to boxing?
You know what? I really liked the Martin Rivera fight. Because it's fresh on my mind. Martin, I had seen him before, and he was nice. I mean, to me, he wasn't anything spectacular. He was good. He was nice, but he really showed me something the other night.
Okay. All right. Now, the gift of the year. That could be a gift to the fans. That can be a gift from the judges to the fighter. It could be whatever. Like, what is the gift of the year 2022, Christine?
Can I say a gift that a promotional company gave to a fighter?
Whatever you want to say.
Okay, and he's done better, so let me just say that. But I really think that Top Rank gave Nico Ali a gift. His first fight, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe was televised.
When they put Xander Zayas on the undercard or off the card?
Yes, and they really built a stage for him. They really, it was his show. And yes, I do believe. I mean, I know he's with new trainers now, and I happen to know they're good trainers, and I do see some adjustments and some things being made. But he was definitely given a gift by Top Rank.
Okay, all right. Well, there you go. I have forgotten about him, to be honest with you. So the Rudolph Award. When there was darkness, they came and they gave boxing light. Who gets the Rudolph Award?
For me, I have to say Jared Anderson. We have not had, and I'm gonna get pierced again, but we have not had a really top, in my opinion, heavyweight coming out of the United States. And I think that he is the light. He is leading the squad. He is going to do big things. And I'm excited again about the heavyweight division. He's my Rudolph.
All right. We have caught up with you, Christine.
Okay, good. Thank you.
There you go. All right. So I want to go here, and if you guys could give me just one for each, right? Christmas Carol Award, the most inspiring story in boxing, of course, in the year 2022. Let's start with you, Joe Habib. Joe. Did Joe freeze?
He's frozen. It's probably 13 degrees or less where he's at.
Can you hear us now, Joe?
Oh, it's cold, yeah. It's cold out. It's about, well, actually, it warmed up here. It's like 42 right now, but this morning it was like 20.
I'm jealous.
Well, why y'all live up north? It doesn't make sense to me.
I know. I moved to Vegas.
Texas, it's worse right now.
Jesus Christ. And then you're bringing your cold fronts to us. Like, I don't get it. But Joe Beeb, we're talking about the Christmas Carol Award, the most inspiring story of the year 2022 in the sport of boxing.
You know what? This may come out of left field for a lot of people, and probably a lot of people aren't going to be thinking the same thing that I'm thinking, but I'm going to say Natasha Jonas, because she had a tough fight with Terry Harper that I thought she won, right?
Yeah.
And she didn't get the decision and didn't get the title that I felt she deserved, right? Also, the fight with Katie Taylor was a razor close loss to her, and she should have gotten an immediate rematch in that fight because the fight was great. It was an awesome fight, right? And she never got the rematch. But this year, she finally was able to win her first world title. And not only that, she was able to unify it. And she's going to close out the year in an attempt to unify another title, have all 3 belts. So she's going to have the opportunity to have all 3 belts. So she went for the longest time not being able to secure a championship. And now this year, she could potentially have 3 championships. So I think that's awesome. So That's kind of inspiring to me. And she's always been a likable person to me. I would say she may be my favorite female fighter. Her and Sinisa Estrada. I really like both of those women.
No love for Katie Taylor? What happened?
I love Katie Taylor too, but
just toss Katie Taylor aside. Like, what's going on over here? But
she's like a close second behind those two.
Okay, all right. If you're close second, but you're supposed to be third, that's not bad. You know what I mean? How's it going, Calix?
Oh, it's going. How's everybody doing? Like everybody else, dodging illnesses and cold weather. So it is what it is.
You're like in the Matrix movie, like COVID, and then just like flu.
Trying to stay away from everything.
Yeah, I want to do a quick rundown with you, and then we'll get to the current topic. The Grinch that stole boxing 2022. Who's the Grinch?
You know who's always the Grinch for me is Al Heyman. So
damn, everyone's saying Heyman. What's going on?
I said PBC, but it's the same thing.
Yeah,
he's always the Grinch to me. So I mean, it is what it is. He's stealing fights that we want to see, getting in the way. So there are many Grinches, but I'd say that's the main Grinch.
Man, he's got that big suitcase with all our favorite fights and carrying it up the mountain and shit.
Maybe we should start singing Christmas carols. So maybe his
be
heart
like,
can grow.
There you go. You know what I mean? Santa Claus of 2022 for boxing.
Do we have one? I mean,
I don't know.
to me, it would have to go to a fight. I can't give it to a promoter.
Don Rafael looks like him, but he's not exactly giving us anything.
I'll never. I can't give it to Bob. I can't give it to Trust Fund Eddie. I can't give it to Oscar. I got to give it to a fighter. So I would say Bam Rodriguez because he delivered 3 good fights for us this year.
There you go. There you go. All right.
How about Tyson Fury?
No, not Tyson Fury.
He's one of the Grinches. He's one of the Grinches.
Jesus. All right. The gift of the year. That could be a gift from that a fighter gave us or whatever, or that the judges gave a fighter, whatever. What's the gift of the year?
A gift. Man, I would say the gift for me, one of the best moments of the year to me was when Lee Wood knocked out Mick Conlon in the 12th round. So I know the Mick Conlon fans might not like that, but to me that was a gift because it was a great fight and arguably the knockout of the year too. So it was like a 2-in-1. You had the best fight of the year arguably and the knockout of the year arguably. So I'm gonna go with that as a gift.
There you go. There you go. All right, the Rudolph Award. Who in boxing gave some light when there was darkness?
Dimitri Bivol, 2 great performances. And to me, he sort of showed that he's really a pound for pound fighter now. And to me, he also led the way as to consistency, fighting 2 top fights. But you could also go Bam there too, because Bam showed the light too. Anybody who's active to me is good. So another guy you can throw in there, although he lost to Lee Wood, was Mick Conlon because he loses the fight, but he shows how you bounce back from it, right? He took 2 fights back to back, and he fought a puncher right after that fight. He exercised the demons, and he got back on the horse, and he fought 3 times. He's one of the few fighters in the sport, him, Bam, and a couple other guys who fought 3 times this year.
Yeah, damn. Right. The Christmas ugly sweater, like the worst fight or performance of the year.
I'll go recent. And once again, I might disturb some allies here, but Teofimo Lopez's performance last weekend or the weekend before, to me, that was ugly. Not the ugliest performance out there, but against expectations, I would just stay recent and go with that.
Okay. All right. It looks like we're caught up there. Now, I don't think I give my ugly sweater, by the way, really quick. To go against Ryan Garcia. That fight was atrocious. Okay.
I forgot about that. That was a bad fight.
Yeah, I have no interest in seeing a dude that doesn't want to fight fighting.
I forgot about that one.
Like, I just don't get it.
Can I take mine back? I just thought of even the ugliest sweater ever.
What's that?
Jake Paul and Silva.
Man,
That was kind of a bad fight too. That wasn't.
That sweater
wasn't
had
a-
holes in it.
it's a lot of ugly like holes and tamale stains on it, right?
Yeah.
The good thing is it still has a tag on it, so you can return it.
Yeah, but
And it
just to
cost
say,
$1 million.
like, I am like, what's the point of fighting if you're not going to fight when it's time to fight? Like, what are you doing? Like, to go at no interest in, like, I'm a firm believer that if a guy's literally not wanting to fight, they should just stop it. Just
Yeah,
disqualify him.
they actually could have disqualified him for non-engagement.
Yeah, like non-engagement is the most annoying thing. It's
After
like being a
6
swimmer that doesn't get
seconds.
wet.
After
Like, what are you
6
doing here?
seconds.
Why are you at the meet? You're not gonna get in the pool. No, I don't want to get wet. What do you mean you don't want to get wet? You're a swimmer. Well, if you're a fighter, fight. I'm tired of non-engagement. Like this shit's insane.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I was kind of harsh to Ryan after that fight because I felt he should have cut off the ring maybe better. But should we hold fighters that aren't cutting off the ring accountable when the other guy doesn't want to fight?
Well, let me just use another example. Naomi Inoue versus Paul Butler. That was another guy who was like kind of non-engaging, and Inoue got him out of there. So I see you have an argument. I'm not discrediting what you're saying, but you got to find a way. You got to find a way to cut the ring off. Because here's the thing, man. Nobody goes in there with a riot shield in front of them. There's always an opening. No one like Ashley used to say this. These guys don't have shields, right? So there's always an opening. So
you know that's where the levels show too, because one of the things that's amazing about Inoue to me is how he's always on balance. Always. When he's aggressive, he's on balance. Like when he's throwing power shots, he's on balance. Like he's always on balance. Forward, backwards, lateral, he's always on balance. And somebody pointed this out. My guy Surgical Boxing here on YouTube pointed it out when he was doing the fight breakdown after. Is Paul Butler was forced to circle the ropes constantly. He was not given an out to go forward or backwards. Inoue was always on top of him, forcing him sideways constantly. He wasn't allowing him to go forward, and he wasn't allowing him to go backwards because he constantly had him against the ropes. But in order to do that, the balance has to be there. He's constantly on balance. And that's the thing, like when Nando's throwing it out in the chat, and he's right, Sandor Martin, Rigo, Tagu, those are the guys who yuck the fights up. And to Tiafimo's credit, maybe we're being a little too harsh because that is a tough style, but that's where the levels show, right? Like the special guys like, get those guys out.
But Calix, look, compared to go, I mean, Martin was like Arturo Gatti out there compared to him. I mean, the dude was like, to go literally wasn't fighting, bro.
Yeah.
He wasn't trying to do anything. He was just trying to like not fight. It was just annoying to me. Although it is a good point though that like at the end of the day, yes, like in a way had like a similar situation. He got the guy out of there, but that's not what I want from boxing. I don't want a cat and mouse game. I don't want a fighter chasing another fighter. Like that's not a fight.
And here's another thing to your point. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but if one guy is being negative and the other guy is making the fight. And this is to no fault of Inoue. When you look at that fight, it really wasn't an entertaining fight because when you have a situation like that where it's cat and mouse and the other guy's not engaging, it does make for a poor fight regardless. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a good look for the fans. You know, it's not an enjoyable experience for the fans as well. So
and by the way, and I know Lennox was best is joking. Mayweather was called a runner, but Mayweather never did what Butler did, what Tago was doing. Like he never did that shit. Ever.
Yeah, I Mayweather was he would stand right in front of you and just make you miss by inches and counter you. I never got that whole running thing from Mayweather because Mayweather used a lot of subtle movement and he spent a lot of time in the pocket.
Yeah, like he was the one pressuring Canelo for about half of that fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Then he started walking Mosley down in that fight after the second round.
Cotto late in the fight.
Yeah,
too.
Cotto. That was a great fight. Him and Cotto. They had a
But Mayweather sat on a lot of those punches in the 12th round. He had
Now
Cotto.
Lara in the Canelo fight. I mean, that was atrocious, bro. Like, it wasn't as bad as to go, obviously, and he was more engaging.
You know what happened to Lara once he
Yeah.
got cut over the eye?
Yeah.
I think that affected him a lot.
Yeah, that's all he thought about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, I thought about a ugly sweater, and I might have to take mine back too, like Christine. But very recent.
It's an ugly sweater word.
Or being a loss last night after she auctioned off her panties, I think, from the weigh-in or something like that, and then she lost. So if you're gonna be auctioning off your panties and all that stuff, like, you got to win,
bro.
So check it out, Calix. So Beep gave us his, so now it's your turn, Calix. Christmas Carol Award. What's the most inspiring story of the year 2022? Try to think of an inspiring story.
Off the top of my head.
Sure.
Hard, isn't it, Calix?
The chat, let us know. Let us know, chat. What do you got?
Inspiring story.
The Christmas Carol Award.
I don't know, man. There are a lot to go off of. To me, I tend to like the active fighters who are fighting top competition. That's what I find inspiring, guys who are testing themselves. So to me, I'm gonna repeat myself again. Maybe a Bam Rodriguez who tested himself, knocks out Soren Vise. But I'll also stay recent again. Like, this is off the top of my head. Frank Martin, another guy who tests himself, right? Those are one of those fights that you like, that comes out of left field. Like, all of a sudden they're put two undefeated guys coming up at the same time against each other. So that's a bit of inspiring, a guy who's coming up. I think he fought twice this year too. And he's a guy that's all of a sudden you look at him in the top 5 lightweight and you're like, okay, I could see Frank Martin beating some of these guys, some of these top guys at lightweight. So that could be a guy there as well.
Gotcha.
I like Frank Martin.
Christine, what is the Christmas Carol Award for you? Most inspiring story.
The first name that came to my mind was Kenny Sims. You know, he beat Elvis, you know, on the Taylor Ramirez undercard, and nobody was giving this guy a chance. I mean, Elvis Rodriguez was like the next, you know, big thing. And he beat him. He beat him well. And he has some losses. I don't know, 3 losses maybe. I'm just going off from what my memory is. And usually, you know, it's like, oh, if you have 2 or 3 losses, like, you might as well hang it up. But he showed that he had real skill, he had real talent, and he just fought what was it, last week or something? My memory is like gone. Kenny Sims, and he looked great last weekend, and he looked fabulous, you know. So for me, he was the guy that nobody's talking about, that is proving to be something. You know, he really is, in my opinion.
Okay, all right. Big Dog Lukey, we're back to you, brother. Christmas Carol Award, the most inspiring story in boxing, 2022.
So I put down 4. Luis Alberto Lopez, going from a journeyman to a world champion. On one of the better runs in boxing, beating Gabe Flores, Andy Vences, Christian Baez, Isaac Lowe, now Warrington. He'll probably beat Michael Conlon as an underdog as well. I mean, that's pretty inspiring. Jermaine McDonald beating Evan Holyfield, probably fighting for barely any money. I'm sure there's a great story there. Bob Santos has been all throughout the industry, but his run with the Dominican fighters this year is pretty interesting. And Brian Mendoza basically was another guy that was going to be a journeyman who lost to Jesus Ramos Jr. last year, gets the call in a few days' notice and stops a former unified world champion in Jason Rosario. So those are the guys that come to mind.
So some good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, look, the Christmas Carol Award, the most inspiring story. How could you not go with El Gallo? Like, how could you not appreciate the rooster? Like, you know what I mean? Like he ain't gonna die. He's still the king of 115. All right. He won a trilogy. And you know what? Y'all want to put little young Van Rodriguez and ruin his career because you want to throw him in there with Gallo right now? You go ahead. Okay. Because he is let me tell you something. He's a ghost of Christmas past, present, and future in that division right now. Okay. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be at 115. That's Gallo Estrada. What an inspiring story. Winning the trilogy. All right. I mean, he is the most inspiring story of the year. Okay. 2022. And a honorary second. I mean, Bivol. I mean, this dude had an epic year. I mean, like it is what it is. He became the president of Mexico this year. You know what I mean? It won a lot. Like, you know what I mean? Like, have you guys seen a meme where there's like two little kids, Canelo and Zurdo? And he's
fighter of the year. He's fighter of the year for sure.
Yeah, like I'm telling you right now, it's an inspiring story, man. The Bivol story, to go in there as a major underdog. We had a panel of 8 people on the round table. Not one person picked him to win. Yeah. Beam said he's going to get destroyed. Like
guilty.
Like I think I had it the closest, and I said Canelo was going to win 8-4. Like that's crazy, right? That's great. So inspiring story, and then he goes out there and he shows it. He's not just a one-hit wonder. He's not Vanilla Ice, ladies and gentlemen. Like you know what I mean? Like he went out there and he showed what he could do. It's a pretty good fighter in Zurdo. So shout out to him. You know?
Those are two good. Those are two really good ones. But I missed one in Lee Groves. I think got it is Hector Luis Garcia. That's a good one too, because I like the guys who pull off multiple upsets in a row. And he pulled off a big one this year, and then he's parlaying that into a shot with Tank Davis. And by the way, he's being overlooked again, 14-1 underdog. You know, overlook him at your own risk.
We're definitely putting something on him. We're definitely putting a little something on him.
Hey, but what about Jake Paul? I mean, I'm surprised Luki didn't say Jake Paul. I mean, I'm just saying. He was showing a lot of love the last round table to Jake Paul. You know what I mean?
Please.
But let's go ahead and proceed here. We're going to start with the ghost, ladies and gentlemen. The ghost of Christmas past. This is a fighter or boxing figure that had their time, but needs to either retire or they've seen better days. Lukey, we'll start with you.
3. Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, and Leo Santa Cruz. They're not fighting the young guys. Their fights aren't all that interesting anymore. And I don't really understand what they're in the sport for other than just making a lot of money. And as a fan, that's just not very interesting to me.
All right. Okay. Calix goes to Christmas past. Who needs to wrap it up or call it a day?
I also have several. One, and this is flying under the radar, Joel Julio, who once had a promising career, just fought again this past weekend. Joel Julio has lost now 10 straight fights. He's country hopping. He's fighting in multiple different countries every couple months and losing fights as the guy with the name who these younger fighters are beating up. And he's lost now 10 straight fights. Sam Solomon's another one. He fought a couple weeks ago, and I didn't follow up to see if he won that fight, but Sam Solomon's a guy still bouncing around there. He's been pro for almost 30 years now. He's got a ton of fights. He's got to be pushing 100 fights at this point. So him and another guy who I want to see wrap it up, if he's not going to fight the young Lions at welterweight, Keith Thurman. Just get out of the picture if you're not going to serve your purpose. I don't want to see him in there with Errol Spence. Don't want to see it. Let's start getting this picture moved at welterweight, and I don't want to see Keith Thurman in it if he's not fighting a Boots Ennis or Virgil Ortiz or somebody like that.
Okay, all right. Christine, the ghosts of Christmas past.
Well, I have 2. And one of them I love very much, and he's one of my top all-time favorites, but I want him to be healthy and go out, to be able to live the rest of his life. And that's Triple G. Oh. It's like, I love him. He's still talented, but I don't want to see him being a gatekeeper and I don't want to see him not be able to enjoy the rest of his life. So that's number one for me. Number two would have to be Sulem. I don't think, I have never been a fan. I never thought that she was there. And after her performance against India, who's from my hometown, and she's such a nice girl. She's raw. She's not a pretty fighter, but she was able to do whatever she wanted to do with Sulem. I think that maybe I don't have OnlyFans, but maybe she'll, I'm not subscribed, but maybe she'll do better there, and good luck to her.
Jesus Christ.
You're not going to mention Chocolatito? I mean,
no.
Nobody's going to mention Chocolatito? I'm just saying, okay.
I think he's got about 2 more fights in him.
Speaking of which, if you do sign up for OnlyFans, follow ours because I just got a content deal with OnlyFans.
His is dope.
You know what?
His is
subscribe to me.
I saw that on Twitter.
Are you having OnlyFans?
Absolutely.
We got a deal with OnlyFans for exclusive boxing videos. So if anyone wants me to drop my football or like do something, you're in the wrong place.
I just want to just put this out there, just so everybody understands. Not all OnlyFans is explicit content, ladies and gentlemen. Right. I just want to put that out there.
Well, one coach told me that I should do some nudes and maybe people would pay to have me put clothes on.
Why don't you do like you should do like commentary in Speedos?
Yeah, right. There you go. You know what? If they have an OnlyFans for grandmas, maybe so. But you know what? Other than that, yeah.
I because it's boxers or figure in boxing, right? I think Joe Habib needs to call it a day. I'm just playing, I'm sure. But Joe Habib, speaking to you, talk to us, man. Who's the ghost of Christmas past? Who's seen better days? And it's either call it a day or retire, etc. Or it could be a boxer, boxing figure, whoever you want.
Surprised no one said this person. Derek Chisora.
Oh,
I mean, they did in the chat, yeah.
Better days.
Did you see him? Did you see him after the fight in the locker room trying to eat a hamburger and he couldn't even open his mouth because his jaw was so swollen?
Yeah, like Fury was eating his like nothing, like right in front of him too. I'm gonna fuck up his jaw and then you eat the burger he gave you in front of you.
He's the greatest heavyweight of all time. You got to let him enjoy himself.
That's actually good. I didn't even think of Chisora. That's actually a good one. Yeah.
Hey, I actually have 2 more. If I can. Sergio Martinez is still out there fighting.
No.
And look,
that was mine.
And also, oh my bad. But also, I don't mind Manny doing the exhibitions, but Manny is out there flirting with coming back. The longer, like, I just get the feeling like Manny can't do the Floyd thing where he just does it for money. I feel like Manny gets the itch to come back. Like, oh, I had a good exhibition match. Like, I want to come back. I want to fight Spencer Crawford. He doesn't want to do that. And his fans, like myself, do not want to see him do that. Please don't do it. Please don't do it.
Yeah, let me just say this. Sergio Martinez was one of my favorite fighters. Enjoyed watching him. He's seen better days. Look, he's fighting low-level opposition right now, and if he stays there, that's fine. But just like Calix mentioned about Manny, he's not going to stay content there. Like, he's going to keep moving up in competition until somebody puts him out of his misery. And I just don't I don't know. I've never liked this whole notion of I remember Hopkins used to say you don't retire from boxing. Boxing retires you. That's such an old school, nah, you don't have to retire that way, brother. You can actually just retire. You don't need the sport to retire you. And I just hope he doesn't have that mentality.
Andre Ward bowed out.
Yeah.
Can we also throw Chavez Jr. in the mix of people I hope I never see fighting like a 19-year-old kid?
Did he fight this year though?
I think he lost to Anderson Silva at some point.
Yeah, he did. He lost to Anderson Silva.
True, yeah.
But wasn't that last year?
No, I think it was this year. I think
Jesus
so.
Christ, Chavez Jr.
I mean, pretty much a lot of heavyweights like Lucas Brown kind of is in this category for me too. He got a win, but it's I don't want to see Jared Anderson versus Lucas Brown.
What about Joseph Parker?
He's still got enough in the tank.
Parker's still a good fighter.
Yeah,
You know
he's
what
a
the
good fighter.
problem? You know what the problem with the Sergio Martinez situation is? Even though he's not fighting top guys and they're matching him carefully, what happens is they once a guy like that strings a couple fights in a row, gets a couple wins like that, then they just get this sense of delusion, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm back. I got my mojo back, and then
That's their spirit. Yeah.
they decide to step it up that one time, and that's when they get hurt.
There you
Yeah.
go. Okay.
You got to have the right people around you, not the yes men that are like, yeah, we can give it one more go. Oh, you could have beat him. You could beat him. You could, you got to have the right people around you.
You're looking really good right now. You got 7 knockouts in a row.
Right.
Yeah, but
Well, that's like the classic trope. Like you got these guys that they've lost 5 fights in a row, but they tell you they really won all 5 of them.
Yeah.
And you go,
Bad decision. Yeah.
well,
You're
it's
robbed.
like,
the night before I only got an hour's sleep. Oh, I had a steak. It wasn't cooked well enough. I had an upset stomach going into the ring.
It's dangerous.
I put the
How do you
wrong
get
pair
to
of shoes
10?
on.
How do you get to 10 of those in a row though? Like Joel
Jesus.
Julio.
They
10
don't
in a
like
row.
you. They,
Well, I mean, some people
they
have
were
bad luck, Alex.
Eastside.
So let's go ahead and go with the Ghost of Christmas Present. This is the contender of the year. No longer a prospect and not a champion either yet or not at the moment.
Oh.
Who does this go to? Joe Beeb.
Gonna have to say, Jared Big Baby Anderson. His last fight, he showed me something. I was impressed.
Okay. Is 2022 going to be his year? 23, I'm sorry.
2023. I think he'll fight some top 10 guys, but I don't think he'll get a title shot next year. No.
Okay. Definitely contender status for sure. He
100%.
was nominated last year, actually.
Was
for
he?
the same award. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think you picked him last year.
Did I?
I believe so.
So like
Calix. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, so he's only got 13 fights. So
Calix, who's the Ghost of Christmas Present top contender this year? Non-champion, non-prospect.
That's mine. And I think we saw him graduate from that. And interesting enough, me and Lukey talked about this last week. We talked about possible like superstar in boxing. I think Jared Anderson's it. And you and I have had that discussion a bunch of times this year. D-Style is, where is the next star going to come from in this part-time business model that we have? I think Jared Anderson is the top prospect to be that guy. He's a heavyweight. He knocks guys out. He's entertaining. He gets, and he looks like a guy who they can keep active, right? And they have him on the right network to build a star. And by the way, he's under a promotional company who Bob Arum is still the best at identifying the young talent and guiding them into superstardom. Mm-hmm. There is possible for a guy to be a superstar. So Jared Anderson's that guy, and he's graduated from from prospect to contender now. Like me and Lukey talked about this last week too. Like if you put him up there in the top with the tops and heavyweights right now, like it's interesting. Like all of them,
right?
Every matchup, like it's interesting now. It's interesting.
Well, you're right.
So is it still too early? I don't think so. Like I think he's there.
Okay. All right. Christine. Ghost of Christmas Present, top contender.
I have two. So I had a male and a female. So I actually have 3. So
why aren't you inclusive?
They said Jared Anderson. So I mean, obviously I was going to say him, but I also say Keyshawn Davis.
Yeah.
And then as far as the females, I say Micaiah Krebs. She signed with Zabella. She also fought India, and it was a good scrap. Like I saw India bring out the best in her, and she handled it, and she looked great. I know that I think Jamal Herring is managing her. But those two, well, Jared and then Keyshawn Davis and Micaiah Krebs.
Okay. All right. Lukey.
Also, like obviously everyone said good people. You can throw Xander in here, but the 2 I like is Joe Joyce because he feels like a world champion without having a belt. He's got some form of a BS interim, but I don't think anyone feels good about an interim. I'd call myself a champion if I was interim, but it doesn't feel the same. And
Right.
Gary Antoine Russell, I think those are the two fighters I feel are contenders. The problem is, like, we're really not seeing them. They both only fought twice last year. They're very exciting fighters that I think realistically could be a world champion. I'll throw one more, Rabisi Ramirez. I think he's the best featherweight in the world. And I feel like a lot of people just don't care.
Damn. You see that guy right there in the bottom left corner? Virgil Ortiz is the number one most proven, most battle tested, and the most ready contender in his entire sport.
How did you get Nestor Gibbs on the left hand corner there?
So Virgil Ortiz, all right, has been ready. But that's what he's been. He's been ready. I mean, he went to the convention and was like, yo, Keith Thurman, how about you and I fight and the winner fights for the belt? He got denied. I mean, he's doing everything possible. He's called out Crawford. He's called out, Spence. But he ain't getting his shot. Virgil Ortiz,
that was like a no-brainer. Like, he was already there.
Well, if it's a no-brainer, and you know what? Once again, he's getting a Contender Award because we know he's not a prospect, and he ain't a champion, no fault of his own. Like, that's just the reality.
Fighting Stanionis next.
Let's go.
Yeah,
it's a good fight.
That's a good
That's a really good fight for him.
Yes,
it's a really good fight, and he's going to win that fight.
I believe so.
And it's not an easy fight, but he's going to win it, by the way. But it's going to be a tough fight. Possibly a fight of the year, actually. But I look forward to that. Anybody last year, because I actually remember last year's a little bit, Boots Ennis kind of was the overwhelming mention. Well, why did nobody mention Boots?
Because the level of opposition did not get better. And
you can't win the award 2 years in a row.
And he fought one time this year against lackluster competition.
Those PBC fighters, I'm telling you.
It's stagnation right now.
Yes.
And it shouldn't be.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
Agree.
Man.
It's the PBC curse.
PBC. Well, he's not a PBC though. He's Showtime. He's not PBC.
But he fights on all those PBC cards.
And you know what's a shame?
He might as well be PBC.
Is like Gary Antoine Russell and Boots have like a rivalry dating back to the Olympic trials. And most people don't even know this. Like, Gary Antoine Russell became an Olympian because he beat Boots on the Monday to qualify for the Olympic trials. So, like, why these guys aren't fighting on the same cards as potential superstars building towards a fight in the future is, like, astounding to me, because that is a big fight in the future. And we're probably never going to get that fight because no one's thinking like that.
Yeah, well, like, who did mention, I don't know if it was D-Style or Calix Boxing, like, with the top rank, like Bob, I think it was you, Calix. I'm sorry, Bob. He has the formula on how to place all these champs on the cards, on the undercards. He's doing it. How come PBC and Golden Boy and others aren't following the same formula? Because it works. And these other guys are getting all the shine.
Man.
I also think Brad Goodman and Bruce Trampler are really good at what they do, and they make it look really easy. So it's like we kind of see how hard matchmaking is when it's not top rank.
Mm-hmm.
People don't want to hear it, but the traditional model is still the model to build stars. It is. The other promoters seem to be just plucking off other promoters after their talent and overpaying them after they already built them. But Top Rank is still the best. Identify the young talent, and then you give them the correct amount of resistance on the way up to where they can still, and you figure it out, right? We figured it out with Berlanga. We figured it out from your boy from California. I forget his name, who's lost 2 or 3 straight fights. Like, we figured out that they weren't there. They gave him the correct amount of resistance. But other fighters like Jared Anderson can blow.
You're talking about Gabe Flores?
Gabe Flores, that's right.
Gabe Flores, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think what Top Rank has is it's based kind of like the equivalent of like in baseball, like the farm system. Like they have like a system in place for them to play in the quote unquote AAA and the AA. They just kind of move up until they're ready for the major leagues, right? Where like I believe like PBC, they kind of took like the Yankees route when they became a company. Like they had all this talent that was already established talent. They brought them over to PBC, created PBC, but they haven't really created anybody from scratch. Like they really haven't. Like
No,
there's something lacking there. You know what I mean? They don't have that farm system in place.
I think it's even totally different. And what I'm saying is, so the personal relationship, it's like Bob is business. Like, I like you, kid, but if you're not going to make me money, or if I'm going to put money into you and I'm not going to get it back tenfold, I don't need you, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship, and I don't want you to get an O, or I'm going to protect you, and this and it. It has to be straight business, and Bob is straight business, and that is why, in my opinion, he surrounds himself with people that are business too, and this is why we're seeing the fights that we're seeing.
Yeah, look, Top Rank has a proven track record, and I don't got to go all the way back because Aaron's been around forever. But you can just go back from the late '90s. I mean, look at what he did with De La Hoya. He created a foundation. Of course, everyone always talks about, but De La Hoya left and then he blew up. Okay, but he created a foundation
for him to be able to go and blow up.
Exactly, like De La Hoya built a Hall of Fame resume with Top Rank, right, and was already established when he left and had his first fight by himself with Ricardo Mayorga, I believe it was. The same with Mayweather. Mayweather already had a Hall of Fame career, a great resume, like all that. And then he got to fight De La Hoya in his first fight outside of Top Rank. But no one is following that plan. Like, everyone's just skipping the foundation part. Like, everyone's just kind of just going straight to the pay-per-view. That's what they're doing with Tank, right? I think in Floyd's mind, he thinks maybe Top Rank wasted his time and he should have been a pay-per-view star his whole career or something. But I don't think he understands what it took to kind of build that. And that's what Top Rank does at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'd like to add one thing is, like, we brought up Kenny Sims Jr. earlier. And when Kenny fought, like, I wanted to watch his fight, and I can't watch his fight. If Michael Angeletti's fighting Jeremy Adorno, I want to see this fight. Why do I have to struggle to find it on something? These things, these young fighters like Michael Angeletti and Trayvon Marshall on PBC are great fighters, but I'm the most hardcore of hardcore, and it's hard for me, or I lose interest trying to find them. So they just emerge at 15-0 with no attachment to the fans.
Yep. I was looking for Angeletti's last fights, and I couldn't find him. Yeah, he's one of the greats that are not spoken of. Absolutely.
Kid's a stud. Next time I'll send you the fight if I know you're looking for it.
Oh my God, that's my guy. Like, absolutely. I love him. I was in camp with him. I was, when he was an amateur at Team USA, we keep in contact. I've done some interviews with him. I love that young man. He's awesome inside and out of the ring.
Yeah, I just want him to get a chance, because I'm just sick of this kid.
He deserves it.
Well, it's like he works hard, and it's like he's fighting on these no-name platform in front of no eyeballs, and it's like the kid was the #1 seed in the Olympic trials. This is not some nobody.
Nope. I agree with you 100%. Yes, please do.
There you go. All right. To complete this boxing Christmas carol, we need to go to the ghost of Christmas future, the boogeyman of boxing, who is the avoided fighter in boxing, right? Now, just to not confuse, it's not a who's the future of boxing, because that would be a prospect award. That's not what this is, right? This is the boogeyman award. And what I'm going to ask you guys to give me one name, because there can only be one boogeyman. Not 4, not 5, not 3. Once everybody gives one, we can all give other names. Christine?
I had to go first, like, seriously?
Absolutely. Ladies first.
Can I just like
I am the
preface?
ghost of
Can I
Christmas
just
future.
preface why I'm saying what I'm saying? I don't think he is the boogeyman, but I think he is the boogeyman only because he hasn't fought. Why is nobody that Ryan Garcia is calling out stepping up? Like, what's going on? Like, what is it?
Oh shit! So he's the
And
ghost of
I don't,
Christmas future. Okay.
I'm just saying, like, I'm like, why?
I am the ghost of Christmas future.
I don't know.
I have a mental
Many
illness. Like I don't know
prospects,
what.
but I'm just wondering why nobody's fighting him.
Because he's gonna pull out.
Is he? I don't know. Is he?
I mean, I didn't look. His pullout game ain't good with girls. That's why he's got a pregnant butt. When it comes to
Whoa.
boxing, he pulls out like.
And trust
Whoa.
me, I'm not like,
Whoa.
there's many others that are boogeymen, but you said only one. Because the
Of
first
course-
thing
of
that comes to
course.
my mind is why, when he's talking all this shit to all these guys, why are they not like,
I mean,
okay, let's go?
he's not exactly that Grim Reaper looking dude over there in the right,
No,
but you know,
he's not. No, I mean, Usyk in a way. I'm just saying, you know.
All right, Lukey, give me a name, brother. Ghost of Christmas future. Who's the boogeyman?
Give you two: Regis Prograis
Sorry, Santa.
and David Morrell Jr. Neither, like they're very high risk fights, and you're probably not going to get paid a ton.
I am the ghost of Christmas future. I asked for one name. Like what?
I have 10.
Okay. Regis Progress. All right. Morale. Joe Habib. Talk to us. Who's the boogeyman of boxing?
I was gonna say Prograis too because I don't think anyone's in a rush to fight him. Zepeda didn't want to fight him. I don't think Teofimo
Counts
Lopez
wasn't
is
even
gonna
thinking
fight
about Progress. Look at him.
I know I was. My
Josh
Warrior
Taylor never.
boy.
Josh Taylor never gave him a rematch. Yeah, I think it's Prograis.
No, Crawford won it last year. You're not going to pick Crawford?
Nah.
I'll pick him.
Go ahead, Calix. Who's the
When you're the
ghost?
champion and guys still don't want to fight you, that's a sign that you're the boogeyman. But and you know, I don't want to piggyback off of what they said, so I'm gonna give you another one, Stevenson. And the reason I think it's Shakur Stevens, I think he's gonna have trouble getting the fights at 135, and it shows now.
Yeah.
Like we're down. What is it? 3 fighters have said, you know, I don't want to fight you right now.
That's true.
William Zepeda indirectly, which hurt my heart because William Zepeda is one of my favorites. And I think that's a fight. Like, that's one of the guys. Like, if I see a guy like a style that could give Shakur some trouble, that could be it. So when I see Golden Boy do, that hurts my heart. But that and Cambosos didn't really want it. So I think he's going to have trouble getting the fights at 135. And that's frustrating to see. So I think he's the boogeyman to me right now.
Can we have a boogie woman?
Yeah, go ahead. What do you got?
I think right now there's 2.
Okay.
I think Michaela is one, and I think Alicia is the other.
All right. One and the same.
So they should fight each other again.
I think they should.
What do you think of Lauren Price? Does she fit into that equation?
You know, she's from overseas, right? Lauren Price?
Team GB. She won the gold
Team
medal.
GB. She's a badass, but she's not too many people know her. She's a badass for sure.
I feel like
she's a silent boogie woman. Yeah, for sure.
Like, I feel like nobody's gonna sign up to fight her for a while.
No, definitely not. No, hard hitting.
You know, I'm surprised nobody's mentioned Andrade. You know what I mean? Andrade.
And by the way, once again, he's a 50-1 favorite going into this fight.
Jesus.
50-1. And Boots is a 35-1 favorite going into this fight with Karen Chuka or whatever his name is. So, but just to give you 2 other names real quick, and I definitely want to piggyback on what they said. When Prograis got the belt, I was like, okay, here we go. Finally, we're going to get his fights at 140. And you're starting to see, like, I don't think that's going to develop. I don't think Top Rank's going to want to work with them with their fighter, even though he has a belt. So I think he's going to have to get creative. Maybe Adrian Broner said he wants to fight him. So maybe you do Broner versus Broner in New Orleans on BLK Prime. That's a possibility because they're giving him a voluntary defense right now. So that's a possibility if Broner can get past Red Catch, because Broner, like last I saw Broner, if he was 2 inches shorter, he'd be a perfect circle. So I don't know.
Yeah, I was there to see both of them. And Red Catch looks like he's ready to go tomorrow. I'm just saying.
I'm surprised no one set this name. It's in the bottom left corner. Joe Joyce.
Yeah.
Joe Joyce. Nobody wants to fight Joe Joyce. Did you see what he did to Parker?
Yeah.
I mean, I never seen anybody do that to Joseph Parker.
Well, the best heavyweight of all time called him out, said he'd fight him next year.
I don't know, man. He was acting like a whack job in Usyk's face, and then he was all cordial and nice to Joe Joyce. You know what I mean?
That's how we do it, man.
By the way, people think that Usyk got up first and was on the ring apron, and then he was looking at Fury. And then Joyce stood up and then followed him. No, Joyce actually got up first, right? It's just that Usyk got there faster by the time Joyce got there. But look, Joe Joyce, to me, at least at heavyweight, he's the boogeyman of that division. There's no doubt about that. And if Janibek didn't look as ordinary as he did, he might have been nominated for this award, but he didn't look so good. You know, his boogeyman status got stripped of him, even in a win, and it was a solid win, but he kind of got stripped of that. But I will say this: we can't ignore Terrence Crawford.
He's still the boogeyman.
He's the boogeyman to me. Like any other name, like Joyce at heavyweight, this woman in the women's division, whatever. But I'm telling you right now, he's just the whole PBC roster is avoiding this dude.
That's for sure.
How's he going to get his fight? How's he going to get his fight at 140? And even if he goes to 154, and Errol Spence even said it, he said if he can't fight me, he's not going to be able to fight Jermell either. So where's he going to go?
Right.
Where's the fight?
Right.
I'm just saying,
go to middleweight. And none of those guys want to fight either. So, I mean, where's he going to go?
Well, what about Fundora as an honorary mention? Nobody think Fundora is
Well, didn't Fundora call out Errol Spence like a few days ago?
Yeah.
Yes.
He did?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think he can get a fight, though. Like, I think there's people that are willing to fight him.
I think the Ocampo fight kind of like, you know what I mean? Like a boogeyman can be, like the fact that Crawford is still a boogeyman after all these years.
He is.
Like no one's like beat the boogeyman out of him.
Because he's scarier to me. And it's like I told people on my channel, like these Errol, like and look, I consider myself an Errol Spence fan. Like I like watching the guy fight, but there is Errol Spence fans and like the sexuals, right? Like the extreme ones. And I'm warning these guys, like, if you think that aging out Bud is going to work, this dude looks scarier as a stationary fighter. He's still got the punch placement, and he's even meaner now and putting more pepper on his shots. Stationary. Like, good luck.
True.
Good luck.
You're so right.
Look, he has stopped every opponent at welterweight.
Most underrated knockout streak currently in boxing. I think the last guy to... Who was it? The first knockout in this streak was John Molina Jr.
Yeah,
which is like
10 straight
ages
fights.
ago.
10 straight fights.
But let's talk about the gloves, babe.
No contest. It's not his fault. I mean, the gloves busted open. You gotta swap them out. It wasn't done. So no contest.
I want to throw out one more name, Raiz Aleem at 122. Beat Vic Pasillas. He's a really tough fighter, and it's like Fulton was there, a bunch of guys are there, and he just can't get a fight. And it's, he's calling out all the names. He just can't get his fight.
Navarrete had some nominations last year. Well, what happened with him? Is he
went life or death with somebody,
Yeah. You see how hard it is to stay a boogeyman? Like, it's hard.
It is hard.
It's actually hard to stay a boogeyman and then to like stay as a champion. Like it's harder
For sure.
because all you got to do is look vulnerable, and that status is gone. You know what I mean? So
Some guys claim that they look vulnerable on purpose. Janabek did. Janabek said that. So, I don't know if that's true or not, but
I don't believe it.
Bud needs to start looking vulnerable, maybe.
And he won't. He never will. He's like, no, he won't.
So speaking of the Christmas Carol, like I think like Al Heyman needs a visit, like from the Three Ghosts. Like, you know what I mean? Like he needs like a visit from boxing's past, present, and then he needs to see the grim future. It's my opinion, of course, but if he keeps on his practices as it is, you know what I mean? Like, I think that's what, like, PBC fanboys need a visit from the Three Ghosts. I think.
Yeah,
my opinion.
I agree. I mean, these young, hungry Lions are going to think twice about signing with him because it's like, no, they want to fight. They want to fight, 2, 3.
You're going to sit idle. You're not going to get any fights. Look at Boots Ennis. Would have fought for a belt, I believe. Like if he would have signed for Top Rank, I think Top Rank would have made that Boots Bud fight happen.
Yeah.
It would have already happened.
You can't tell me that Stephen Fulton Jr. doesn't want to fight anyway. I think he wants to fight anyway at 122, but I think he's not being allowed. Like I think they've already said they're gonna move him to 126 and fight the Figueroa rematch, but why do that rematch if you're going to move back down to 120? He already said he wants to move back down to 122. So
that makes sense.
What is the point? Like everybody wants to see Fulton versus Inoue.
You're going to take a risk, right? You already took a risk with Figueroa. Why not just fight Inoue?
Obviously, I think he wants to. This is just the.
And what happens
the vibe that I get? But this is just the vibe that I get is. Specific from what we're told from everybody, there's specific language in the contract that you can't speak out against this stuff. So I think he wants to say, I want to fight Inoue. I think he wants to fight Inoue, but he's moving to 126 to fight Figueroa, and it's an in-house fight. And I just think that's the fight. Another thing that bothers me is when it comes to PBC is all of these other promotional companies are working outside of American borders. And I think American Fighter now more than ever, you need to be working outside of those borders to broaden your base. And I get like your live gate will be better in America than fighting overseas, even if you're fighting in front of a bigger audience. But if Canelo's not above it, Canelo said he wants to fight in UK, in Japan. If Canelo's not above it, nobody else is above it. So broaden your base. In Stephen Fulton Jr.'s last fight in Minnesota did 61,000 live gate. 61,000, dude.
I don't even know that really the United States is going to have a bigger return on the live gate than like the UK or in the Asian countries. I don't even know if that's true.
And especially if you're built like a horse jockey. If you're 122 pounds, Asia is where you need to go.
Absolutely.
And it's the reason people keep saying, why is Inoue fighting at 4 a.m. in America and fighting? It's because he's making millions of dollars over there. And it's the reason Josh Franco is going over there. He gets it. Like, that's where you go. If you're built like a horse jockey, Asia is where you go. And Stephen Fulton Jr. will never go there. That's the issue. And he's going to be fighting in Minnesota in front of comped audience doing 61,000 live gate.
Comped audience, absolutely right. Yep.
Who needs a visit from the Three Ghosts the most in boxing, Christine?
Who do I what? I'm sorry.
Who needs a visit from the Three Ghosts?
Who needs to visit Al Heyman?
No. Who needs a visit from the Three Ghosts?
I mean,
like in a Christmas Carol.
You said it.
Oh, Al Heyman. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Most network executives, I would say, further like boxing programming, people in charge of programming. I think the big issue is main event fights need to be worth main event prices. We need to have good main event fights. It can't just be, okay, here's super awesome famous guy and he's fighting someone, so tune in to see the famous guy.
Yeah, I want to
perfect example of you style. Specific example of that is the January 7th card. 14-1 favorite on the main event, 50-1 favorite on the co-main, 35-1 favorite underneath that. And everybody wants to see Boots in his fight, but they're burying him on undercards. It's like, come on.
Well, look, not all is lost. Late January, we have a great fight with he wasn't nominated for, now that I'm thinking about it, he could have been Ghost Christmas President Tim Zhu against Jermell Charlo. You know what I mean? I think that's a great fight, and you got to give it to a guy stepping up to the plate, taking the challenge when it's available, and the champion who's taking the challenge as well. So not all is lost.
Mel's going to beat him.
Now, I just want to say this, and to end, and if anybody wants to add this is the lesson of the year, I think, and it's tied to a lot of what you guys have been talking about. A lot is said about being pro fighter, and I'm pro fighter, right? But I don't think boxing fans really know what being pro fighter means. Like I keep hammering that home. I don't think they know. You're pro your fighters, like your favorite fighters. That's what you're pro. You're pro the A-side fighters, right? That's what you're pro. I think the sport of boxing, we're too focused on the A-side fighters. So when a fighter gets paid a large sum of money, it's not that I'm not happy for the fighter making money, but if they're not generating that money and it's draining the budget, right? That's not good, because that's taking money from other fighters, and that's keeping us from getting some great fights, right? And I think that's an important lesson that I think boxing fans need to take home. Of course, I want these fighters to get paid, but money is fight night. There's only so much money in the budget, and if one fighter is getting paid too much, that's money off the table of other fighters. So, kind of like in A Christmas Carol when Mickey Mouse doesn't have any food and shit.
But are you saying like that falls on the expectations of the fans, or?
No, well, what I'm saying is, we need a system, okay, that rewards risk, right?
Big
So
purse, little purse.
like you want the big money. As fans don't want to hear this, because and it does tie to the fans in this way. I'll say, yeah, we shouldn't be giving these fighters all these millions of dollars before they even fought anybody. They fought no names, because they have no incentive to fight big names anymore or take risk. If they're already living in a mansion and have luxury cars, why should they take a risk with a Terrence Crawford? Why would they take a risk against a dangerous opponent for? Of course, they're going to be fighting, Spilkas and you know what I mean, like the Liams and
that's
other
the
world.
generation that we're in right now. It's true.
So I'm just saying, as fans, at least we could do is not justify fights that are draining the budget, but they're doing nothing for us. Like, we should be greedy as fans. We should say, I want to see the best fighters fight the best. I want to see good fights. I want to see them risk it all if they're going to be getting paid that way, because that's what prize fighting is, and that's what boxing is at the end of the day. If you're not risking it, then what's the point?
They programmed us to feel bad about speaking out for our own interests. They programmed
being
us
satisfied.
Right. They programmed us to. They call us names like anti-fighter when we speak out for our own interests. So they're programming us to not speak out for our own interests. But to me, the biggest, and this will be my point to end it, is the biggest problem that we have is the part-time boxing model that will not create stars, because we'll always create great fighters. We are. Just look at Top Rank's young roster if you don't believe me. Like, look at the cards the past couple weekends Top Rank was putting on. These dudes are talented, great fighters. We're producing great young fighters in America, but when I see 1997, we had 23 of the 68 major belts. Today, we have 17 of the 68 major belts, and it's only spread out amongst 8 fighters. We had 20 champions, American champions in 1997. Today, we have 8. All right, so there's a disconnect there. And it's not that we're not producing great talent, because we are. But we're not producing dudes. Like, there's a foundational issue in American boxing to where we feel entitled. We feel like we can demand and not fight titles, and we're not producing stars at the same time. But the biggest impediment to me is we have to change this. The top 10 pound for pound this year, according to Ring Magazine, fought 13 combined times. That can't happen. And it expands further out. The top 50 pound for pound fought 69 times. So it doesn't get better. ESPN put out a top 100 pound for pound list. And if you let that, it was like 131 combined fights. So as you go out, it stays the same, 1.3 fights per average. And you can't have that in boxing. You can't have that. We have to get these fighters more active. That can't happen.
I agree. Yeah.
Very true, very true. Babe, can you give us a lesson? Anything?
A lesson?
Just anything.
Deal with the world you have, not the world you want.
There you go. Lukey, any final words for wrap it up? Lukey, can you hear me?
I got confused. I had like different windows open. I was looking at something. I was looking at fitness equipment. I'm glad to be able to talk to everybody on here. Hope everybody has a good holiday. Grateful for the life I have. Grateful to know y'all. That's it.
All right, all right. Christine Lopez, before we wrap it up, any words of wisdom?
Something that one of the many things that I admire about Lukey is that he goes back and he looks at these champs or these guys that have that are up and coming. He goes back to the amateurs, and I think it's so important because how many fans today can say, who's on Team USA, who's going to possibly be in the next Olympics, who won nationals. How many of us are actually following these careers to be able to say, you know what? Yeah, this guy, look out for this guy. This girl, yes, this girl. And to me, it is so important because we have so many channels, so many everything right now on YouTube and on boxing, and it kind of dilutes the people like here on the panel who know and who follow what boxing is about. So I just say, you know what, we gotta go back to the grassroots and let's see where these guys are coming from and what they've been through, because there's some real stories there and there's some real talent that is still hidden. But hopefully, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and hopefully the future is going to be brighter, but we've got to be the change.
Can I actually speak on that? Because like Stephen Shaw is probably going to be in the main event of like the top rank card. He'll probably win that fight, and he's going to be a breakout fighter, and like nobody's talking about him. But like if he was a stock, you could easily put $10,000 into him and it would probably double your investment like right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
True.
Well, that's it. Merry Christmas to everybody and all a good night. This has been another edition of the Roundtable. We're out. Peace.
Thank you. Good night.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody.